Hello, this video goal is to define the necessary vocabulary words needed to construct a class diagram in DIA. As you take a look here, this is a representation of a diagram in DIA, and you can see it kind of looks like graph paper. Over here is a search bar where you would actually put in the type of language you're using, which is the Unified Modeling Language. And that would help you construct your DIA diagram. What are some of the basic words you need to know in order to construct the class diagrams in DIA? Well, you have to know what an object is. It is a set of related attributes and the actions associated with the set of attributes. And when do you usually use these class diagrams? Well, usually for object-oriented databases. They contain and define these actions as part of the data dictionary. And they are presented in the DIA diagram. You can see the process of the encapsulation, which is basically defining an object by including both its data and its actions. Let me show you an example on this DIA diagram. The rectangle here is called a class. The object of this class is dog, and you can take a look at the attributes and you can take a look at the actions below this horizontal line. This tells you, and this having the actions and the attributes is the process of encapsulation. Alrighty, go back to the PowerPoint here. A class. What is a class? Well, it's a visual structure that contains the name of the object, the attributes, and the actions for that object, which we just discussed. The methods are the action components that include add, delete, change. And what I don't have on the diagram is inheritance, because it's the ability to derive and devise a subclass from the parent class, which contains the same items as the parent class and an additional item that may be needed for that subclass. If we take a look at the DIA diagram, we do have the three components: the dog in this rectangular box, the attributes for that dog, and the actions or methods for that object. Let me return to the PowerPoint. And again, this is restating the same thing. We have the rectangular box with the class name dog, and it's the object. We have the attributes, which are similar to fields in the entity relationship diagram. We have all the attributes of the dog and the methods or actions for this particular class. Class diagrams are the visual representation of an object-oriented database. And a class is represented by a rectangle divided into three sections. Now, a component of the class is the attributes. And in the attributes, we have visibility, which determines if other classes are able to modify the value of the attributes. The first visibility is protected, which is represented by a hashtag. Protected is the only class itself or the public or private subclasses that can view or update the value of the attribute. We also have public, which is represented by a plus sign, and public is any class can view or update the value of the attribute. And the final one for visibility is private, which is represented by subtraction sign or minus sign, and only the class itself can view or update the value of that attribute. And now when you take a look at this diagram, we have this class, and we see two lines connecting the dog groomers, or we see one line connecting the dog groomers to the class dog. What this line is called is association or relationship. And this is used to join the classes, and is similar to relationships in an entity relationship diagram. We also look, if you look over here, we have a constraint. What is a constraint are rules to ensure that data integrity and consistency remains, such as for the class dog, a breed type should not be null. Multiplicity is the number of objects that can be related between associations. So let's take a look here. The dog groomers, the first number always represents the minimum number of objects. And the second number represents the maximum. And for this particular example, n has no maximum. So here, dog groomers can groom 0 dogs, or dog groomers can groom no maximum of dogs. And if you take a look from the dog's point of view, the dog can be groomed by a minimum of 1 groomer and a maximum of 1 groomer. That's how that works. And all this information is from Stark's Joy L. Concepts of Database Management, 9th edition. And I just want to show you one more thing on the DIA diagram. A constraint here is breed type is not null. The constraint for this one is groomer's name is not null. And you can see the evidence of the relationships. These lines that are connecting it right about here. And this shows you the maximum number and the minimum number for the dog, for a dog to groomer. And the opposite is visualized here, where the dog groomer, you can have 0 dogs to groom, or it can have many dogs to groom. Hopefully this has helped, and thank you and have a good day.